You and the train conductor? Okay. Before we go any further, I want to, as you notice, most of the, if not all of the council members are wearing a button on our clothing. And this is, as you know, April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. The Christiansburg Police Department is recognizing April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Officers placed pinwheels throughout the town to spread awareness. Town Council is also wearing pins tonight to support our officers on this cause. Thanks to our officers for their commitment to stopping child abuse in Christiansburg. Let's, at this point of the meeting, we will take a brief moment of reflection, and certainly there are enough things going on in the world and the country and the community that let's take a brief pause to reflect. Thank you. Would you please stand and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilman Jenkins.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
Yes, I just have one, which is under the consent agenda for the town's monthly bill list. If we could pull out the Montgomery Museum's community support and vote on that separately from the rest of the bills.
That's the motion, right?
That's
Second.
correct.
It's $10,000, right? Okay.
Yes.
You have a second?
Yes.
Madam Clerk?
Councilman Bishop.
Aye.
Councilwoman Bowman.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks.
Aye.
Councilwoman Hockett. Councilwoman Hockett.
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins.
Aye.
Councilman Wilson.
Aye.
That is 6-0. Thank you very much, and we will pull it. When we do the consent agenda, then we will look at approval for A, C, D, E, F, and G, G and H, and then we'll address the monthly bill list.
Thank you.
Okay, public hearings, had an aquatics property ground lease with NRVA Inc., H2 Hokies, to be rescheduled to May 14th, 2024, under the consent agenda. Our next is a conditional use permit to Howard M. Thornton Jr. and Gail W. Thornton, property owners, and PCKK Partners LLC applicant, to allow for a contractor storage yard in the B3 General Business District on property located at 520 and 540 Depot Street Northeast, consisting of approximately 2.409 acres. The property is designated as downtown mixed use in the future land use map, the 2013 Christiansburg Comprehensive Plan. Is there anyone here to address this item?
Good evening. I'm Patrick Feit. I'm one of the property owners of the property in question, and also owner of Baseline Solar, one of the businesses that will use the properties. So I just wanted to thank you guys for the work you're doing, and I'm here to answer any questions if they come up. Yeah, we'd like to see this go through so we can keep operating our businesses here. And yeah, thank you.
What type of equipment are you going to put there?
We have some small equipment like skid steers and mini excavators and a boom lift that we use in the operation of our business, and the electrical contracting business that's there too. So in total, we have fewer than 10 machines now, and we propose to pave an asphalt pad on which to park those machines to kind of comply with the rules.
So there's small equipment, small machines.
It's small
So
equipment, it's not big
bulldo-
paving machines, it's
bulldozers,
not,
anything like that.
yeah, it's not huge cranes or things like that. Yeah.
So I would be remiss that the planning commission met on this and they approved the request 6-0. Any other questions? Thank you. Anyone else to address this matter? Hearing none, I'll close that portion of the public hearing. We have a rezoning request by Johnny C. Martin Jr. and Amelia F. Martin, property owners and applicants to rezone property located at 3345 Roanoke Street, all of approximately 1.595 acre tract, and property located at 3301 Roanoke Street, approximately 5.99 acre portion of a tax parcel. They want to change from A agriculture to B3 general business. The property is designated as residential on the future land use map, the Christiansburg Comprehensive Plan. We did have, at a previous meeting, I read a citizen's comment from Steve Knowles, who is a neighbor within that property, within the area of that property, and he expressed he has absolutely no qualms about this going on. He said he's been a good neighbor, they're clean, they run a good business. So is there anyone here to address this?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Steve Semenis with Balzer and Associates, and if it's okay with the Mayor and Council, item D is also related to this same request. It's a conditional use permit for a contractor storage yard. If it would be okay if I could speak to both
Certainly.
requests at the same time. Thank you, sir. The property in question is here on just on the south side of Roanoke Street. Oh, thank you, Andrew. This general area right here, as the mayor said, the request is to rezone from A to B3 a portion of the property. J.C. Martin, who's the owner of the company and the business, is here this evening as well, if anybody has questions for him as we go. The plans is J.C. is currently operating his business out of this building right here, and the plan is to expand into about additional 20,000 square foot building. A little over 18,000 of that would be garage space for his equipment, and then about 1,600 square feet of that would be office. Original action was taken on this property back in 2010 by council to rezone the current area to B3, and in 2013 a conditional use permit was also granted for almost an accessory use for a small independent automobile dealership. That use is proposed to stay with this, and the conditions and of that CUP from 2013 would continue to go with this project if it moves forward. All the proffers and conditions that were originally approved for this rezoning, we've mimicked in this one as well. We've included those in the new one, as well as adding one additional I'll speak about here in a minute. It's planned to be constructed in one phase. The property lines would be adjusted, so the property line and the zoning line would now be the same. We're proposing screen fence along the entire area that would be contractor storage. Basically, where J.C. is running his business, all of that would be screened. With the original zoning back in 2010, there was an evergreen buffer that was proposed and proffered in. We're proposing to extend that out into this area right here. You can see the building, the parking area around it. There would be some concrete area in this along the apron. Do have one dumpster shown on site that would be accessed by a private maintenance company, not by town forces. Parking's been provided as well. J.C.'s got about 15 employees right now with the hopes to continue to grow. He's been very busy, a very reputable contractor in the area. So the hope is this will allow his company to grow as work continues. In the B3 district, we are required to put sidewalk in, so you can see the frontage on the parcels. This is the existing parcel right here. This is one that has been acquired and will be part of this. So there's very limited frontage on Roanoke Street. What frontage is there? We will install a public sidewalk as required by the town. This will be the only entrance into the commercial property. You see a driveway here. That's a shared driveway to a lot of these residential areas up here. That is not going to be closed off, but it will not be used by J.C. You can see we've got a stormwater management area proposed down here that would be required for the redevelopment of the lot. So his existing entrance will be the only entrance in and out of the property itself. The last thing, just wanted to touch on, so we mentioned the proffers. So there was one additional proffer that during our discussion with Planning Commission, we did have one of our neighbors that had expressed some concerns about trucks coming in or people coming in and out of that driveway later at night. So during that discussion with Planning Commission, they did recommend we put a condition on there that hours of operation be from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. We're fine with that condition, and that was the 7th. That was the last one that was added in. The other 6 are in your packet. I won't read them out, but I'm happy to answer any other questions council may have.
Can you kind of give us or give me a reference point to where this is located?
Yeah, so JC, you're going to have to help me as far as the church there on the right, up on the hill, as you're coming towards your shop. I can't remember
Question again?
where generally it's located on Roanoke Street.
Give us landmarks so we know where you're at.
Gonna go past Good Shepherd Baptist Church is on your left, going towards Shawsville. Come on down, there's Bear Dance Market on your right, kind of across the street. We're probably, from the Bear Dance Market, 3 driveways down
Yeah,
on the
so,
right.
so Bear Dance is sitting about just off the screen here. Sam.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. The Community Block Development Grant, CDBG Annual Action Plan. Andrew, is that yours or is that whose? Is that somebody's?
So this is kind of this time of year, we bring to you the annual action plan for Community Development Block Grant. We have a limited area in town which is considered low income, low to moderate income, and it is a park district. So if you were to go straight up from Town Hall, it's basically the area, in general terms, between where Park and Main split out, and all the way down to Depot and over to Roanoke. So we've traditionally invested in infrastructure projects in that area with our CDBG money, and this year is no different. We're taking that money and adding it to what we already have, and then and putting sidewalk on Main Street. And it'll be about 500 linear feet from close to Park Street along to about School Lane in the Harless Street area, if you're familiar with that area. And so we'll also be looking, as in past years, to we're going to look to start up a home repair program as well, and still working with a potential nonprofit to do that. And but that is in our plan this year as well. This is a 30-day review period, comment period, and we're kind of in the middle of it. It'll end May 15th. This will come back for your all's vote on the 14th at the end of the comment period. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Is it still 130,000? Is that what
So we
anticipate?
have not been allocated it yet this year. It hasn't been made official, but they recommend always advertising, the approximate amount that you received in the prior year,
Okay.
which was, we did receive a little over 130,000 last year. But it has varied anywhere from 95,000 to 130,000 on the high end.
Any other questions? Thank you. With that, I will close the public hearings. We will go into the consent agenda, and we'll be approving asking to approve A, which is the approval of the minutes of April 9th and April 17th. A resolution recognizing May 24th as GBS and CIDP Awareness Month. Resolution recognizing May 2024 National Building Safety Month. Resolution recognizing the month of May 2024 as National Water Safety Month. A resolution recognizing the month of May 2024 as Mental Health Awareness Month. and a resolution recognizing May 6th through the 12th as National Nurses Week, and cancel a public hearing for aquatic property ground lease, and set a public hearing for May 14th of 2024.
Make a motion.
Second.
Mayor, let you know we've lost Tanya on the phone. If we could maybe try to redial her.
You must have gone through it, Tom. We must be up in here, Max. Okay. So we are in the consent agenda portion, looking at everything except item B, and the motion is to approve A through H. Madam Clerk.
Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Bowman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins,
Aye.
Councilman Wilson,
Aye.
That is 6-0. Monthly bill list. There is an item in the bill list of $10,000 from the Montgomery County Museum. It is funding of the grant that we approved in past council on, I think, the first meeting in January, maybe the second meeting in January. Any comments or questions?
I make a motion to approve the monthly bills as listed.
Second.
Any comments?
Yeah, as far as like that, I'm gonna vote no, not because I don't believe on the organization. I don't think that we should use town resources to spend on the museum for community support or any other community support grant money by the town.
Thank you. Any other comments? Madam Clerk?
Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Bowman,
Nay.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Nay.
Councilwoman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins,
Abstain.
Councilman Wilson,
Aye.
There's 3-2. Monthly bills are paid. Thank you. Under introductions and presentations, we have Police Chief Chris Ramsey to present on the Police Department programs and operations. Chris?
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman, appreciate the opportunity to come before you tonight and speak to you about the police department, and equally importantly, I think the opportunity to address the community and let them hear some things that we have going on that they may not be aware of. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time boring you with details and data tonight. So the layout of what I want to talk about tonight is basically who we are, how we're organized, what we do, what we've accomplished in the last year, and then what's next. And we're just going to kind of roll right through. And I want to start with a quick video. And Andrew, you may have to hit play on that for me. So that's just a little quick oversight into some of the things that we have going on, some of the services we provide at the police department. And as you can see from the end of it, we are hiring and taking applications, and I'll talk more about that as we go through the program. Hit me forward there, Andrew. It's not moving. There we go. One of the things we wanted to talk about really quick for everybody on council, I think you guys are probably aware of it, but again, for the sake of the community, what it is we stand for at the police department. And our mission at the police department is very simple. We want to provide the best possible police service by employing a team of highly motivated and trained individuals that are empowered to be their best. We want them to strive to be the best at everything they do, and we're going to do that through partnerships with the community to increase safety and public trust through the use of latest law enforcement strategies and technology. One of the things you noticed in the video, a lot of what you saw in there was training. You know, a lot of that footage was in there from just training things that the officers are doing. We've been blessed, council's blessed us with a great training budget, so we spend a lot of time and effort making sure we have really highly skilled and trained people who know the law and know the technical aspects of the job we ask them to perform. Our vision is equally simple. We want to make the town safer and more secure. We want to do it by using the best law enforcement techniques available and have innovative community outreach programs. We're going to strive every day to earn the faith and trust of the community by focusing on excellence and service and servant leadership. We want to be dedicated to the ideals of the badge we represent and wear and never stray from that. I believe very strongly that we have a free society because we have the rule of law, but we have to serve under that, and we serve the community. And the best way we do that is to know our community. And what we want to show, what I hope this presentation shows tonight, is we're not just there as enforcers. We don't just work in the community to call people out when they break the law. We want to be part of that community, and I think you're going to see that tonight. I think that's the most effective way any police department works, because to be effective, you have to know your audience. You have to know who's there, what time they're there, what they do, when they do it, why they do it. That's how you're really effective. That's how you work with your community. In that vein, we've redefined in the last 6 months our core values as an agency, and they're also pretty simple. Courage, honor, integrity, professionalism, and service. Those are the things that we hold our people accountable to. We expect them to live by those things every day. This is a quick breakdown of the agency structure. I know that chart's a little bit too small and too far away to see unless you've got a whole lot younger and better eyes than I do. So I'm going to run through it really quick. We have 61 sworn positions, 62 as soon as we add that mental health co-responder that we've talked about in previous meetings. We have 6 civilian employees and 1 part-time employee who provides parking services and enforcement in town. The agency split into 2 divisions. The patrol division, or what we call operations, is what you think of when you think of the police. That's the guys driving black and whites around town responding to calls for service. That division is divided into 4 patrol shifts. Each shift has a total of 9 people on it, 1 lieutenant, 1 sergeant, and 7 officers. That's what we're allocated staffing. We've not quite been there for a while, but we hope to get there soon, and that's not anything really new or urgent. I've been here going on 24 years. It'll be 24 years May 1st. And I think in that time period we've been fully staffed once, and it lasted about 6 months before we had a vacancy. That's just the nature of the job. The support services division is the other side of the house, and they work in conjunction with the patrol division. That's where you find the criminal investigators, the detectives. We have 5 general service investigators, someone who does ICAC, which is Internet Crimes Against Children, and we have a family services detective to follow up on things where family members, specifically children, usually have been victimized, but not always. But he deals with those kind of crimes specifically, and it saddens me to say that he has quite a heavy caseload. He does a lot of work, he does a lot of good work, but he stays very busy. We also have our Crime Prevention Community Services Unit. That's staffed by a lieutenant, 3 SROs, a crime prevention officer, a town ordinance officer, and the parking services attendant that I mentioned earlier runs out of that unit as well. And then we have our Special Operations and Training Division. And that's also staffed by a lieutenant, a sergeant, 2 vice officers, and 1 DEA task force member. Their name, what you see there on the screen, makes you think all they do is drug work. You know, they're the dope cops in town, and they do that. But we also run a lot of other things out of there. That's the training unit. They run accreditation, the state accreditation process out of there. They also do recruiting, hiring. So anytime we're doing the things that we're going to talk about in a little bit, that's the unit that's handling that. They're taking the lead on that part of it. You've already met the command staff. You know me, the assistant chief. We have 2 captains that were mentioned earlier, the admin, lieutenant, and fleet services. And then we have 5 administrative specialists who are divided throughout the agency to handle taking care of all of the clerical duties and making sure we get all the reports and things we need to the state. They do the yeoman's work. They're what really makes the place go, make sure we get the things we need from the town, the state, that kind of thing. And you can see where they're split throughout the agency and the duties they perform. On top of that, we don't have new units, new personnel to do these specialized functions. These are everyday officers. They do this as corollary duties. We also serve a lot of special purposes in the community. We have an emergency response team, or what the public would think of as SWAT, as a common vernacular for that. We have canine units. We have bike patrol units, a crash investigation team that comes out whenever there's a serious crash or a fatality, a drone team. You can see the color guard pictured there. And then our SROs, and I list them. I know they were under support services as well, but that truly is a specialized function. Those guys are special people doing that job, and they have a great impact. You can see in the photograph there, Officer Abdelaziz with the students at the school, and he makes a big impact, as does Officer McClanahan at the middle school, and they have a great relationship with the students, and we really value that opportunity for them to get to know kids in a non-enforcement setting and build those relationships early on so we can have good relationships with them as they grow into the community. I promised you I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on data and statistics. I want to give you just a quick idea of what it is we do from an official capacity, from an official standpoint. Council gets quarterly reports, I believe, on what we've done each quarter. I know you get an annual report every year. This just puts what's happened so far in FY24's year to date. You can see we've had 1,193 criminal cases or arrests. That doesn't necessarily mean 1,193 physical arrests. That's 1,193 charges. And you can see how they're broken down there. A lot of assault and battery, a lot of shoplifting and larceny, forgery and fraud. Thankfully, we don't have a lot of violent street crime. We're blessed to live in a community that has low crime levels, but I think the efficacy and type of officers that we have working the street are part of that. You can see the other criminal offenses. There are a lot of things in there. That number looks huge, but that encompasses a lot of minor things too. Trespassing, drunk in public, basically anything that doesn't fit into those index crimes that you see listed there falls in that other category. Traffic charges. So far to date this year, we've issued just short of 1,600 traffic citations. We focus a lot of effort on speeding, especially in neighborhoods. We get a lot of citizen complaints about speeding in neighborhoods, things like that. DUI is one we're always going to focus on. We've had about 90 DUI arrests so far this year, and on target to have about 120 or so as we go. And I don't have to say, I don't think, how tragic the results of that can be. Everybody saw the fatality that happened just outside of town this weekend, and it appears to be that impairment was a factor in that case as well. Even though that didn't happen in town, our crash team members were called out to help assess that scene after the fact and develop the crash report on that. So we really do focus on those things. Communication services, this is one I would like to emphasize. Calls received, 23,602. One of the things in there that I do want to pull out, and we're working on pulling this out for you guys each quarter so we can separate it, is that includes business checks and school security checks when we walk through a school during the day, when an officer goes to a closed business in the middle of the night and walks around and makes sure it's secure. That's in there too, so it's not somebody calling 911, everything you see in there. That does represent part of that. So we want to pull those things out and separate it so you have a little bit better picture of things. But the total calls for service, when you factor criminal traffic and calls coming into the dispatch center or officer-initiated activity for the year, so far is 33,327. When you break that down to the hour, that means they're running between 4 and 5 calls per hour every day. And when you factor in that probably 6 hours of the day, there's not a lot going on when people are in bed at night asleep, you really are getting more like 6 or 7 calls per hour, which doesn't sound like a whole lot, but when you think about those shift numbers, and we've got 5 or 6 people working, that means somebody's getting a call every hour, somebody's busy all the time. I don't point that out to say, look how great we are, look how busy we are. I'm not getting ready to hit you guys up for any extra money. What I want to do, though, is I want you to keep that in mind as we go through the other things that the agency's involved in, because this is really where the rubber hits the road. The members of this agency are involved in all sorts of community outreach and community events that go far beyond enforcement and far beyond the duties that they're mandated to do. These are things that we don't really have to do. These are things that they want to be involved in, that I want them to be involved in, and I think builds a strong community. As already been mentioned tonight, it's Child Abuse Prevention Month. The police department, along with the rest of the town employees, got together 2 Fridays ago, all agreed to wear blue in honor of that and recognition of that. That's what the top photograph is. They've planted the signs and pinwheels around town to bring awareness to the tragic effect of child abuse in our community and throughout the country. One of the other things I'll point out is that back wall there that's taken in our training room, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in just a minute. Another thing that they've been involved in just recently, just this past weekend, is the after prom party that was hosted at the rec center. We provide security for a lot of events throughout the town, but what you see from the photographs is the officers are there and they keep them safe, but they're also part of the party. And I'm not bothered by that. I'm encouraged by that, and I encourage them to do that. You see the officers in the photo booth riding a mechanical bull. One of our detectives there with his daughter, who actually attended the prom and the after prom party as they went in. So that's the kind of relationship we want the officers to have with the community members. We want them to be there and do their job and keep people safe, but we also want them to be a part of that community and a part of those events, more than just standing in the corner staring at people as they come in. I think council's well aware of the Sleep in Heavenly Peace program. Several of you attended and participated in that. Captain Bonds worked with the school staff to put that together and get that to come here, and it was a huge success. They did everything they had hoped to accomplish and hit their goal, and had a lot of fun doing it. And we had people from all throughout the PD, not just officers, but command staff, officers, support staff, secretaries, everybody participated in that. It was a really good event, and again, really meaningful for the community to hit those things. We've had a long-standing involvement in Special Olympics, and we'll continue to do so. We partner with our other local law enforcement agencies to be a part of that, and you see members from the sheriff's office there. So far this year, you know, the Torch Run's the big event for law enforcement, and that's in June. But so far, we've already had 2, one at Virginia Tech and one at Christiansburg High School this past week, or 2 weekends ago. And we'll continue to do that because it makes it worth putting a badge on every day to see how being there and supporting those athletes at Special Olympics impacts their lives. It really does. This year, our community service unit partnered with Volunteer Montgomery, or helped them as they did their supplies for seniors. That's what used to be known as RSVP for a lot of older people in the room. People who've been around a long time know what it was. Through that program, Volunteer Montgomery puts together supply bags for people who might need some things through the winter, and we have officers go out with them and help deliver to the places they had designated in Christiansburg. We always participate monthly with the Dialogue on Race Subcommittee, law enforcement group, and we participated in the Winter Summit this year, just like we have. There were a couple of years that were on break because of COVID, but they were back to having Winter Summit this year, and we hosted a coffee with a cop before that and had officers there to meet with people and talk to the community about any concerns they might have, questions they might like to have answered. And that's an equally important thing, because some of those, you can imagine at that thing, some of those questions are not the comfortable ones. But those are the conversations that we need to be having in the community if we want to have effective communication with our community members. If we really want to solve problems, we have to be willing to sit down and talk to each other. It's not just with the Dialogue on Race, though. We do Coffee with a Cop every once in a while. That one pictured is from Starbucks in August. The top picture is one I'm really proud of as well, and Councilman Bishop will be aware of what this is. Asbury Church every month has a men's breakfast one Sunday, and they invite the police department to come to that. And if our officers aren't busy, this is not something I have to tell them they have to go to. This is something usually the supervisor has to tell a couple of them, you can't go. You have to stay out and answer calls. Because if you look closely at the picture, we've got 6 officers in that picture in the back of the line there on the right. So they're happy to go to that, and the fellowship's great, the food's great, and they really do enjoy participating in that. Any parade or downtown event, if you look around, you're going to see the police either involved in it or providing security for it. Wilderness Trail, Rockin' Mains, food truck rodeo, parades. You know, if you look around, we're there, and that's what we want to be. That one particular picture right here, this one with the dogs, that's the one. And put that in there because I think that one's gotten more likes than anything we've posted on social media ever. So we included that in this. We run Citizens Police Academies every year. We have one for the general public. We have a teen police academy that we run in conjunction with Montgomery County Public School System. That one just concluded with graduation on April 8th. That's what a couple of those pictures are from there. There's the teenagers. And again, it's a great opportunity to develop those relationships and let young people in the community know what kind of work the police department does. And it's a great outreach event for the general community. The range picture there, the adults, that's not a student. The adults get to go to the range and actually fire the weapons. We don't take the teenagers to do that in high school. But that's usually the highlight for the adults. They love that night at the range. Everybody loves the dog, too. The annual Fall Festival at the mall is probably a bigger event than I didn't want to take up 10 slides and show pictures, but usually there's a touch of truck, helicopter lands, bounce houses for kids, all sorts of rides, music. That's a good time for everybody. This year was a little tough because it was really cold. Anybody that went knows it was really cold and windy that day, and we spent a lot of time trying to hold tents down and keep things from blowing away and trying not to freeze to death, but still had a pretty good time. The next thing I want to do is kind of tell you what we've accomplished and what we've done over the last little bit. I know I watch probably every public meeting that happens in this area and attend quite a few of them. And I know as a citizen, one of the things that kind of bugs me is hearing somebody come up and ask for something or get money allocated and then never knowing what happened. What did you do with it? How was it spent? Did you actually accomplish what you set out to do? So we wanted to give you guys a little bit of things. Some of it you already know, some of it hopefully is new. You know, last year, money was allocated to renovate the front of the police department. It'd been what it was for 23 years, and it was getting in rough shape. Things were falling off of it. It was time for it to go. And now we have a new building that I think everybody can be proud of. It looks great. I think it's one of the best looking buildings in the downtown area now. So we're really thankful for that. But we didn't stop there. I know you guys go through the budget and look at everything that's in there, and we always request building maintenance funds. And this year asked for a little bit more because, again, you know, we're in an old building. That building was built in 1948, and we've been in there since 2001. And it hasn't had too many major renovations to the initial part. The top floor is new, just built recently or just renovated recently, but we've got some improvements to make, and we've been working on that. Anybody that's been in the police training room downstairs probably remembers what it used to look like with brown walls and carpet and some plaques on the walls. We recently completed an upgrade to that. We got new carpet, new paint, new graphics on the walls, switched out the drop-down screen and projectors, and added new digital, new podium. So it just gives something that people can be proud of, that we can bring the public into when we want to or need to, and that the officers can train in and feel proud of the place they're working. And that's one of the underlying things, going back to the video and here, one of the things we've been working on all the way through is trying to bump morale up, because we need to recruit. And I'm getting to that in just a minute. And those are just a close-up of a couple of graphics. I know that picture was a little blurry. We need to be recruiting, and one of the things we find is our officers are our best recruiters, and we need them to be happy and have good morale. We also took one of our rooms that had turned into an old file storage room and kind of basically the junk room that everybody has somewhere tucked away, and took all that stuff out, found a new place for it, repurposed it, and turned it into another conference room so we can have meetings in there when we need to. Another program I wanted to give you a brief update on is the body cam project. I think the last time Chief Sisson came before council to do a presentation like this, he presented on the body cam. We rolled that out in 2022. It was a 5-year contract. We went with Axon. Their camera at the time was the Axon Body 3. We just completed last month upgrading to 4, the Body 4. Gives more memory, better battery life, has a higher resolution camera, wider angle of view, better audio. Just in general an upgrade, but the great thing about it is there's no cost to that. It's part of the contract. Every 2 years you get upgraded to the newer piece of equipment. So at 2 years from now, excuse me, we'll be able to upgrade our in-car cameras from Fleet 2 to Fleet 3. Again, part of the contract. It won't be any additional cost to the town. It's just part of that program we had. That's a program that has paid for itself many times over. A quick example I could give of that's the Body 4. You probably remember, some of you, that we had a highly publicized officer complaint on social media a few months ago where an officer was accused of profiling somebody and saying some pretty bad things, and the body camera solved that and saved it. I mean, we were able to really quickly review that, look at it, and see that the complaint just wasn't factually true. I mean, it just didn't happen. The things he was accused of, he never said, never did. And that happens, it's great for that. It's great for evidentiary purposes. It's really a boon to everybody in the community to have that objective account of everything that the officers do in an enforcement capacity. Another piece of technology we've implemented over the last year is the drone program. You saw a little bit of footage of that in the initial video. We went live with that in 2023. We have 7 certified drone pilots and 2 drones. They have to be licensed to fly them. They fly over populated areas. They know the laws and have to follow the rules to do that. They also have to know the law and rules about when they can use them in a law enforcement setting. This is an incredibly effective tool. I wanted to give you a quick chance to take a look at something. This was right when we were getting our drones. Most of our pilots weren't licensed yet, but 2 of them were. This call is of a person illegally hunting within the town limits. It's out on Route 114. Game wardens were actually called. And why I wanted to show you this, our pilot put the drone up, and I want you to see how quickly he's able to spot the person that's hiding in the woods. Now, this is a person hunting with a rifle in a populated area. You can see the houses around here. You can see the cattle on the hill here, 2 officers and a citizen here, and the person's run into the woods, and they don't know where he's at. So this is, it's not a high crime call, but it's risky going in the woods after somebody armed with a gun is doing something illegal. So we pop the drone up in the air, and in less than a minute, what you're going to see is if you notice on the right side of the screen, you're going to see a hot spot where one shouldn't be. The white on this video are hot spots, and if you look right there in those trees, you start to see something. Our pilot picks it up on the monitor he's looking at, flies over, zooms in on it, and you can stop it right there. And we got our guy. I mean, he's right here hunkered down. So that's how effective that tool can be when you're looking for somebody. Now, we don't just use it in criminal settings. It's a great search and rescue tool. We've used it at public events to just get footage of things and that kind of thing. We also use it in public events for a security measure, to fly over buildings before a parade so we can check the roofs out and make sure there's nobody up there, nothing going on, nobody where they should be in secure areas. So it gives us a great tool. It's really a force multiplier, because with the drone and one person, you can see and cover a lot more area in a lot less time than you would have to take people to do that. I've been referencing recruiting earlier. We've had a lot of retirements. Well, we've had 2 in the last year. We've had 3 departures, and we've got 2 more coming up at the end of the month, and I've got 4 people that can retire by the end of this coming year. I don't think they're going to. I hope they don't, but they're eligible to. So we've got quite a few openings. Right now I need to hire 6 people. Add to that, we've got 6 more that are either currently on FMLA for having babies and that kind of thing, or getting ready to go on. So that's going to be 12 people that will be short in the next few months. And to put that in perspective, that's 20% of the police department's workforce, and that's a pretty big hit to take. we're already feeling the crunch on some of those numbers because some of the people are already out, some of them are gone, and I think that makes all that community involvement, all those things happened in the last year. I think that makes that even more impressive, that our officers are still out there doing their job, answering calls. The public hasn't noticed any diminution in service, and they're still finding time to do all of those community service events. The job market right now is not great for police. People aren't really lining up to be cops in this day and age and in this social climate, so it's tough going. So what we did was turn to our experts. We turned to the PR department here at the town, and they've really helped us out. Christina and her team put together the video that you saw at the front. They put together the cards that are on screen here. So our officers have these in the car. They can give them to businesses to put by the register. They can pass them out to anybody that's interested. The QR code will take them to an application that they can fill out. There's information about the job on the back of the cards. But more than that, they've increased our social media presence. We're posting things all the time. They're posting little short videos. They're working on a longer video. We've given us these promotional materials to give out. And we've upped the advertising. I'm sure you've seen it, all the electronic message boards around town that the town owns, the rec center, the aquatic center, the fire department. Every once in a while when it cycles through its messaging, it's there. There's our police message that we're now hiring. And another thing, excuse me, we really tried to do was get our recruiters out recruiting. We wanted to push them out into more areas more often, get them to job fairs, military bases, that kind of thing, where they can target people coming out of the military, people graduating college, and get people up there. But the other thing, when I mentioned morale in the building, we've been really wanting to bump that up, make sure people are happy, because our officers are our best recruiters. And excuse me, that brings me to a point I want to thank all of you for taking something that some of us old-timers don't love with grace. We recently had a revision to our uniform and grooming policy. And if we're going to be honest about it, let's just call it what it is. It's ball caps and beards. It's not uniform and grooming. That's what did it. And that's what these pictures are of. You can see some of the officers wearing ball caps. You can see them growing beards out. That's new. It's not something everybody's completely comfortable with. But I will say this, in the time I've been there, that's had a more positive impact on morale than anything I've seen, including some raises. So we really do appreciate that. Another thing we're working on with HR is classifications for police officer 2 and 3. Before, the only way to move up was to get promoted. And in an agency our size, there's not room for everybody to get promoted, everybody that's deserving of it. This will offer people a career path and still allow them to stay in a police officer classification, so they don't necessarily have to achieve rank to move up in their job. And that's coming at the end of June once we do our accreditation reassessment. We are due for reassessment in June, with the second week in June. It's tough to make a lot of big policy changes right before that. Really amps up the workload on our accreditation people, so we'll hold off on some of those things. We're going to go through that, hopefully become successfully reaccredited under VLEPSI, which is the state organization, and then we're going to start the process to become nationally accredited. We talked last time we met about the flop camera project. That's something that's still on the horizon. And we really want to continue with the recruiting, hiring, and succession training, because once we get through this year and all the requirements and that kind of thing, we get a little bit of a break in 25, and then I've got another wave of retirements coming in 26. Basically the same size group is eligible to go then, and a lot of them have already said, when I'm eligible, I'm going. So we're going to continue those recruiting efforts. That's going to be the big push, to get people hired, to keep us staffed, and to get people trained, so as retirees leave, you don't notice it. I mean, we appreciate their service. I don't mean it that way, but we want to have people trained and ready to step in and take over those roles and move right up. With that, I'll be glad to answer any questions you might have.
I noticed on one of the slides during the third quarter, it looked like shoplifting tripled. Do we know why?
Not really. I think we've seen some organized groups coming in. The business district gets hit hard with shoplifting, particularly lately. But it's not, there are two things in there. You know, as the weather gets a little bit warmer in the third quarter, it's not quite warm all the way yet, but we have seen some organized groups come in. There's an organization that runs all up and down the interstate and a few states in this area that they come into places, and that's what they do. I mean, they have a plan, and they go to stores, and they'll hit one day, and do that. The other thing that factors into that is a lot of the stores are upping their technological game. They're buying improved surveillance systems and closed circuit TV, camera footage. A couple of them in town actually use facial recognition. So if they have somebody that's a known shoplifter that comes in the store from Roanoke or wherever, their system flags that they're there, and they know that they'll be watching them. And if they steal something, they're more likely to get caught. Lowe's has installed the flock cameras because they were having such a problem with people stealing high dollar items and leaving. And it was, again, organized. It wasn't just random one-off person taking things. It was somebody that's hit a Lowe's in Roanoke. They come down the interstate and hit one in Salem, then they'll go to Christiansburg and hit one. So if they can get a tag number, they can put their stores on alert and know when somebody's coming into the store.
Thank you.
I do have, first of all, thank you for all the involvement of you and the rest of the police force, and not just the police force, but the people that help in your department. You guys are very creative in finding ways on how to get people to work with you guys, and appreciate the work that you do in the community. I do have a couple of questions though regarding the police force. What's the age restriction for someone to work for the police force? That's the first question.
Okay. We have a policy. It's under law they can be 18. We won't hire someone to be a sworn officer until they're at least 21. And that's a personal choice that we've had in policy for a long time. But it's a job that a police officer has a lot of power and a lot of authority. And I feel like we have a duty to the public to make sure we're conveying that power on to people who have the maturity to handle it. And I think we've seen some bad examples nationally of hiring people that weren't ready for the job. So we do have a very strenuous and rigorous hiring process with probably what is the most detailed and in-depth background process of anybody that I know of around us. But we do make people be at least 21 years of age. We don't have an upper limit. I mean, we don't say, some of the federal agencies will say you can't apply once you're past 45 or whatever. We don't have that.
So there is no restriction
No.
as far as like
You have to, as long as they can perform the required duties and pass the academy and pass all the physical requirements, then we don't have an upper age limit.
And then the other question was, does the town pay for the police academy?
It does. We pay a membership to the academy based on the number of employees we have at the agency, and we pay that annually. But we don't have to pay more when we send people. We pay to be a member of the academy, and then I can send as many people as I need to during a year to Cardinal Academy. If we have to send someone to an outside academy, if Cardinal's not having a basic school and we really wanted to get somebody through, then we would have to pay that academy for that person to go through. But we've only done that once or twice. We really prefer everybody have consistent training. So when the officers come out, they all know what each other knows. They can work well together. They can hit the ground running. But we don't pay extra to send more people. We just pay a flat fee.
Okay, thank you so much.
Any other comments, questions?
I don't have questions. I just want to say thanks for all you guys do for our community. I think this has been great, showing that you do more than write tickets and arrest bad guys with the involvement you actually have in the community as citizens and not just officers. So thanks again.
Thank you. And I say from the bottom of my heart, in all sincerity, that morale bump with that, our officers knowing that this council has their back and supports them and cares about what matters to them and is listening to them, I think that's had the biggest impact on morale that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah, I would also like to say thank you. I've took the tour twice in the last 6 months and have been super impressed, not only with you, but with your staff, and just feel very safe. So thank you.
Thank you.
Now, you did put some restrictions on those beards. I want you to make sure we understand.
Absolutely. Can't be more than 3 inches long.
None of them will be working part-time as Santa Claus in any stores, is that correct?
No, and if there were any pictures in there, I don't think there were, but if there were, our vice guy has a really long beard, but that's part of his job. He's got an exception and exemption to the clause there. But everybody else is, I actually had Officer Abdelaziz, the high school resource officer, he's been wanting that for a while, and he sent me a text message the day we put the policy out and said, don't worry, if anybody violates this, I'll take care of it. And he's also an MMA fighter, so people are kind of towing the line on that one.
Very good. Thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
Okay. Are you there?
I'm here, thank you, and sorry, Council.
That's okay. Very good. Next, we have our citizens' comments section, which is a period of open period. If someone would like to discuss issues within the town, you have name and address. You have 3 minutes, and you address your comments to the chairman.
Chris Waltz, 1370 Rigby Street. I sent you all an email earlier, but I got the purchase agreement for those wonderful 4 parcels of parking lots downtown behind the Montgomery Museum. Of course, first off, it says that we're going with the deed from 2022 where MP3 bought it from LGFB. And of course, according to that deed, in the description of parcel 2, it says Plat Book 2, page 176, which it spent a couple hours at the courthouse with this because page 2, 176 is actually something that the town already owns. It's the town of Christiansburg, Crab Creek disposal plant. They've owned it since '62. You all don't even know what you're buying. And of course, there's an easement from the Montgomery Museum for 20 parking spaces across a 1 acre of 2 parcels that wasn't filed until March 7th. After you had a closed meeting and came out and said you would only buy the property if it was unencumbered with no easements. I didn't get around to finding out exactly what it is Mr. Rufus Shull owns, but apparently he owns a piece of that property too. But it took so long trying to find out from 2-176, the clerk actually had to get involved to try and help me figure out where it was. We had to trace it all the way back to the Christiansburg Holding Company to even be able to find out about that lot. So basically, you all are paying, although I will say this, Mayor Barber, you said that I said that you would pay any amount. Randy put $290,000 in the budget. He managed to get it for $284,000. That's a $6,000 discount off what Randy had in the budget. Congratulations.
Well, that's 300, not 200.
Okay, 386, and he budgeted 390. But you paid 390 for stuff you don't even know what's on it. There's something with the old drive-through teller that by now it's probably owned by, I'm guessing, Wells Fargo. Had to go all the way back to the Christiansburg Land Corporation to find that stuff. You don't even know what you're buying, and you're wasting money, and then giving away most of the 2 large parcels, which are about 1 acre. You're wasting the taxpayers'
Thank you, Chris. You're done. Anyone else like to address council?
My name is Joyce Radford. I live at 510 Ellett Road, Christiansburg. And first, this is about the license plate readers. And first, I would like to say I support our law enforcement, and I would like to thank them for making Montgomery County one of the safest counties in the state. But what I do not support is license plate readers without restrictions. Right now, there are no restrictions on how it is stored, for how long, and who has access to the data. There are bills in the General Assembly 2024 to address this important issue. Here is a quote from Senator Cree Deeds. The General Assembly already made decisions to reject license plate readers. The Senate and the House of Delegates killed bills that would have expanded the use of license plate readers in Virginia, amid concerns that the technology infringes privacy rights and could be abused. And could be abused is a big word. It seems that when the signal sent from the General Assembly that this is not appropriate, it is hard to believe that the Board of Criminal Justice Services would approve these grants in the face of the legislative opposition. If the town government officials accept this grant money, is the data shared with the state and federal government? Would the town lose control of the data, and does the town have to pay for data storage? All of these questions should be answered to the public. Little is known about how the federal government uses license plate readers' data. I have heard persons in the Board of Supervisors meetings and the town council meeting quote, "This is how they caught the Allison Parker murderer." That was in 2015. Where is the data for 2023? The data I found says that the vast majority of license plate data are collected from people who have done nothing wrong. Less than 1% of license plate reads are hits, and even a smaller fraction result in arrest. As the Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit explained in a case of tracking, a person who knows all of another's travels can deduce whether he is a churchgoer, a heavy drinker, a regular at the gym, an unfaithful husband or wife, or an outpatient receiving medical care. They'll know who your friends are or who are your political groups. Not just one fact about a person, but all facts. Longer retention periods and widespread sharing allow law enforcement to assemble the puzzle of where we have been over time in a high-resolution image of our lives. This monitoring and recording violate our privacy according to the Fourth Amendment and the Bill of Rights. So I ask the town council to reconsider accepting the grant money for the license plate readers. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else to address council? Seeing no one, I will close the citizens' comments. We'll go to committee reports. Any, Mr. Bishop?
No reports.
Okay, let's see, Mr. Wilson,
Nothing to report.
Ms. Hicks,
Council reports,
committee report.
committee
Any
reports. No.
Okay, Mr. Jenkins,
Nothing.
Ms. Bowman?
No.
Very good. We will move into, do what? Oh, Ms. Hawkins, you got anything?
Nothing to report.
You what?
Nothing.
Nothing. Okay, thank you. Sorry. I'm not used to these telephone things. So we'll move into discussion and action by mayor and council. Kiwanis Christiansburg to request 2 possible street closure configurations for the 2024 Wilderness Trail Festival on September the 21st, 2024, from 5:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Due to anticipated downtown construction with the Hickok Street Drainage Project, 1 Main Street between Dunkley Street Northwest and Pepper Street, Franklin Street between First Street and Commerce Street, Hickok Street between Commerce Street Northwest and First Street, and Marvin Gerald Circle Northeast in its entirety, and 2 Main Street between approximately 39 West Main Street to Montague Street, Marvin Gerald Circle Northeast in its entirety, Pepper Street between Hill Street Northeast and Montgomery County Courthouse, Pepper Street Southeast parking lot. The event would be 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Anyone here to address it? Ernie, we got questions on this thing? I mean, I know there's a lot of streets, but
Well, Mr. Mayor, members, council, and staff, usually we say, well, let's do it like we did last year. But thanks to the construction downtown, we need to really have two plans. One, if something happens, Hickok Street and Main Street's not torn up with September 21st or the month before that, we can use the same plan as last year, which is number one. And number two would basically take everything from Hickok Street back to Burger King and flip it over on First Street around the corner. So I'm going to let Andrew show you the maps here, and then we'll be able to answer any questions you have.
So I'll just start with this is basically is the alternate, because I think council is familiar with the layout that was approved last year. But basically, with Hickok Street and the area being closed once it's under construction, as Mr. Wade mentioned, basically it would go through to North Franklin. I did want to point out, because it was not in the description, that Roanoke Street between Main Street and First Street would be part of this street closure, and that would be the west. And this is not the entire event layout, but it does include areas that will be blocked as well to stop vehicular traffic from entering into the event space. So I think that is it in a nutshell. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
So what's being asked is that we approve both
Two plans.
in case the contingency plan and the original plan?
Right.
That is correct.
So motion to approve.
Second.
got a motion and a second. Thank you, Ernie. Any comments or questions?
I do,
I do too. You want to go first?
yeah. That's
Go ahead.
okay?
Go ahead.
I appreciate the Kiwanis Club so much, and I especially every year when you guys have the events and everything that you guys do. I really appreciate everything that you guys have done. On the other hand, in reference to a possibility of a direct effect on my business downtown Christiansburg, I want to abstain from this vote, but I will most likely, because I will probably be most likely the one business that may be affected by the closure of these main streets. And so I would really like to, out of town council, have a conversation with you guys to possibly be able to work on something that can be possibly a working, something with that business, so we won't affect from it. And this is just as a citizen and as an owner that I'm speaking about this, to alleviate maybe some of the effects that we may have during those business hours for us, because you guys will be closing the whole, pretty much the whole day that would be working in the business. So I would really like to get with you guys if that's a possibility. Thank you.
We'd be glad to discuss that with you. We usually try to visit all the businesses affected and get their input for some way we work around it.
That would be great. So just don't think that because I'm abstaining, that doesn't mean that I don't care about your mission. I do enjoy what you guys do and everything else, so I would really like to work with you guys on that.
Thank you. Mr. Jenkins?
I'm going to join your camp on this, actually, in terms of an abstention. I fully support the event downtown and what it means for downtown. As one of three or more people or parties affected by it, I would normally vote in favor for it as well. But currently there are some event organizers related to my employer's board of directors as well, and so for that reason, I will join Ms. Hicks in abstaining from this vote.
Very good. Anybody else? Do I have a motion?
Yep, motion and a second.
Motion second with discussion. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Bishop.
Aye.
Councilwoman Bowman.
Can I speak first?
You had a chance in the discussion. I'm gonna let you go this time, but from now on, when I close the discussion, you're done.
Well, maybe
Go
you
ahead.
should give just a little bit longer then to make sure
Always
somebody
go
has
around the
a
board.
chance to answer.
I'll handle it. Go ahead and
Okay.
speak.
Is there a way that we can protect the businesses? We're working to, to try to bring business to downtown. And I think at the same time, we're doing some things that are harmful for downtown businesses. Is there a way that we could guarantee that these businesses are not going to have loss due to events that are regularly going downtown? Is there an exit or a way that we can?
Well, I mean, there's no, I'm sorry, go ahead, finish.
For example, Johanna's business is flower delivery, and, that directly affects them if they can't get out to delivery. So I just think it's a fair statement, if we really do want to support downtown business, that we make a way to do that. So just would like to have some conversation. I, too, love the Wilderness Festival, and I would hate to see that go anywhere. But I do think that the businesses do deserve some consideration. Thank you.
Can I address that?
Sure.
Like I said, we always go to the business and talk with them, see if we can work with them. And in particular, the last owner of the flower shop, he was a big promoter of ours, and he said he always took the delivery out back, so that didn't bother him at all. So we do need to talk to the new owner. But over the years, we've got no complaints. And the people on Main Street, we usually, if they want a space left open in front of their business, we won't put a booth there. So our goal is certainly to make the businesses downtown happy, and a lot of them, make more money because of the crowd we draw downtown.
So businesses are certainly allowed to stay open during this thing, all right? And encouraged to stay open?
And we have talked to Iron Tree about making a turn on Roanoke Street, and they'd be glad to have it. It would help their business.
Okay, thank you. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Bishop,
Again.
Councilwoman Bowman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Abstain.
Councilwoman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins,
Abstain.
Councilman Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, 4-2, thank you very much. Resolution to approve budget amendment number 9, fiscal year 2023-24, Wilson and Hockett. That is, I believe, the improvements of the, that we talked about in the work session the other night on the parking.
Mr. Mayor, I guess if I can kind of give you the good news and the bad news on this.
Okay,
It was kind of short notice because this came up during our budget work session on Wednesday, and of course I had to put the council agenda out on Thursday. Speaking to Public Works, they don't feel they can do the work by the end of this fiscal year because they scheduled it out next year. Right now they're still doing spring cleanup. They've got leaf giveaways and other things kind of scheduled out this year. So they just don't feel they can physically get to it. The amount that we have in the budget is for Public Works to do the work. We feel if it is contracted out, it was going to cost almost twice as much, probably at least 150% more. That's, I guess, the bad news. The good news is that we have addressed the lighting. Brad was able to buy a light tree under the current budget, and he's worked out an agreement for a lease to own on light trees for next year, and he can do that under his current budget. So the lighting, I guess the good news is the lighting isn't needed at this point. The bad news is Public Works won't be able to do the gravel work.
well, it sounds like we better hope for a dry summer so we can use that parking lot. We're going to use that parking lot.
So can we,
It will be used. I
Okay.
don't
so
doubt.
do you need us to make an amendment to add the lighting and then wait for the next budget to be included in the gravel?
Unless, if you wanted to try to contract to do it, that would be fine. It's just going to cost, it would cost more to do it.
And it's going to take a public hearing
Yeah,
because it's over a certain
Let's
percentage
just
of the
wait.
budget. So,
So do you need a motion to approve for the lighting right now, for the purchasing of the lighting?
No, we don't. And like I say, we actually have the money for the graveling in the budget for next year, so, in the draft budget.
So we don't need to make a motion, neither one of
If-
So
us.
I withdraw, since I'm the one that put this on the agenda, I withdraw it from the agenda. And,
Does he need a second?
We'll go from there.
and so this whole item is just, withdrawn until, and we'll let it go into the budget for next year, since we can't do it without going into, that's my position, so I withdraw my.
Does he need a second?
Ms. Forgot. So we're
Second.
actually gonna, thank you. Any discussions? Ms. Bowman, Mr. Jenkins, Ms. Bowman?
No.
Okay. Madam Clerk,
That's the withdrawal.
This is for the withdrawal.
this is to withdraw.
Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Bowman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hockett,
Aye.
Councilman Jenkins,
Aye.
Councilman Wilson.
Aye.
That is 6-0, thank you. And let me say this, I mean, Mr. Wingfield, when this came up and you found this out, you should have immediately come to somebody to get us to adjust the agenda to cancel these two things. Now, I don't like it being hit in the eyes in the middle of a meeting with something that could have been done, should have been done before. And I'll leave it at that. Staff reports, town manager.
The Newer Valley MPO is having a public hearing on the US Route 460 bike pedestrian study. That is this Thursday from 4 to 6 at the Newer Valley Community College site at the Uptown Christiansburg Mall. I'll just remind council of the budget work session next Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Spring cleanup is, Public Works is continuing with that through April 26th, and they've scheduled another leaf giveaway for May 10th and 11th at Public Works Complex at 250 Scattergood Drive. And I'll mention that we have a Rock and Main event scheduled May 11th from 5 to 9. And that'd be Noah Spencer and the Jared Stout Band.
Thank you. Mr. Broughton?
No report.
Any other town staff here?
I would just, for next week's budget work session, if there are specific questions or issues that you might want additional information.
I have asked them to submit those to you by Friday of this week.
Then we can be better prepared for the meeting.
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
5th Tuesday. Any other staff reports? Council reports, Mr. Bishop,
No reports.
Ms. Hicks.
Yeah, I want to, after reviewing some of the information and thinking about since the last town council meeting, thank you, Mr. Walls, for sending that email. I want to make sure that Reed and Randy and everybody that's involved in that transaction for the downtown property, that they have the right information, they have the right maps, the right property, and everything alongside with that. I want to express my discomfort with town council's decision about the purchase of the property in the downtown area. That is parking lot, I voted against it. I feel, in my opinion, that we let citizens believe that this land was completely clear title, and is not. We're spending $384,000 buying property that is going to be taking away 20 parking spaces that we have no measures of, no information about. The contract was signed actually March, before we had the meeting, the last time. There is no stipulation on those parking spaces. How big are they gonna be? How small are they gonna be? Are they gonna be a RV size? Are they gonna be a small car size? Obviously, where is this land, the land that we're buying, where is it actually gonna be? What is it gonna be? There is no clean title as of what I can see, of the real property of what we're actually buying. I also wanted to find out, was the town and the county actually collecting taxes on the parcel, the drive-through thing, and to who was it, how was it collected. That's important information for me, especially because that's showing up that is not even part of, this. So I kind of want to have a lot more answers, and I know that this seems like it may be even closing this week or whatever, but this is information that, as a taxpayer, I see that is very valuable to know before you actually go into closing. I think that was about it.
Thank you. Mr. Jenkins,
No report.
Mr. Wilson,
Nothing, sir.
Ms. Hockett. Hello. Did we lose her again, Andy? All right, well, I'm gonna guess she does not have one. Ms. Bowman.
I just want to concur with Johanna that the reason I did not vote for that was the encumbered the deed.
Thank you. As we mentioned earlier, the April 26th is the deadline for questions for the upcoming budget work session on the 30th. To answer a question that Mr. Waltz presented to us to own what property Rufus Scholl owns, well, Mr. Scholl's been dead 40 years, and Bill Kraft, the attorney, bought that property from him, so I don't think Mr. Scholl owns anything. And I'll leave it that part of it. It was a dry cleaning establishment that he owned. So with that, is there any other business to come before council?
Yeah, I move that town council enter into a closed meeting, request for a closed meeting under the Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A8 for consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel. Nothing in this subdivision shall be construed to permit the closure of a meeting merely because an attorney representing the public body is in attendance or is consulted on a matter. The closed meeting is being held for discussion of legal matters in regard to a water line break on Overland Drive Southwest.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussions?
Yeah, so how are we gonna do this? We're gonna go into a closed meeting for the first, right? And then we'll get out of that and then go back to the second one
No,
into a closed session?
what we'll do is we normally do, we will vote on this to go into closed. We will go into the next immediately to go into closed. We will stay in closed session until we've addressed both of these issues. So we're not gonna come out and go this type. It'll
So-
be,
If I am going to speak regarding the second one, is that going to be recorded where we come out of one and we go back into the second
no,
one?
it's closed session. We don't record closed session meetings.
I understand, but you have to, you just read, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, you just,
So after we approve going into closed session for this first one, I'm gonna make a motion to go into closed session for the second one.
oh, okay, I'm
And
sorry.
we're doing it one time,
Okay.
that's what I've told, anyway. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Bowman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
Aye.
Ms. Hockett, she's gone, right?
Ms. Hockett?
Councilwoman Hockett, Councilman Jenkins,
Aye.
Councilman Wilson,
Aye.
All right, thank you.
And now I move that town council enter to a closed meeting as a request for a closed meeting under the Code of Virginia 2.2-3711A8 for consultation with legal counsel employed or retained by a public body regarding specific legal matters requiring the provision of legal advice by such counsel. Nothing in this subdivision shall be construed to permit the closure of a meeting merely because an attorney representing the public body is in attendance or is consulted on a matter. The closed meeting is being held for provision of legal advice regarding policies of the town's aquatic center and Parks and Recreation Department.
Second.
Motion is second. Discussion?
Yeah, if it's, I think if, in my opinion, if it was, public policy, that we're discussing, I don't think it should be in a closed meeting.
Thank you.
On the other hand, I do understand that it can be very touchy subject, and I just want to make a motion, I just want to say that,
So do you want to go into closed session or not?
I do,
Okay.
because I want to, but I just
Madam
want to
Clerk?
make sure that we don't,
I think we
Make
have an
any
attorney here
promises.
to keep us in line with that. Madam Clerk?
Councilman Bishop,
Aye.
Councilwoman Bowman,
Aye.
Councilwoman Hicks,
aye.
Councilman Jenkins,
Aye.
Councilman Wilson.
Aye.
That is 5-0 and a question mark with Tony. So we are now going into closed session. We're going to take about a 5-minute recess in order to get some stuff done. There are certain staff members, department heads, that I have asked to stay on to the meeting. So if you see a few extra strangers, they're us.
They us.
And let's turn our microphones off.
They us.